Hi everybody and welcome to another live Q&A. We're joined today by Nick Halas, Head of Futures at Posterscope, to discuss the 2017 out-of-home advertising trends. Do check out their latest report. There's a link to that in our latest Facebook post and across our social channels. And if you do have any questions for Nick, do send them through in the comments below. So thank you, Nick, for joining us.
Thanks
it's great to have you here. So the first topic on my mind is really about CES.
Yeah.
So we were there a few weeks back and it was absolutely mad in terms of the amount of tech that was on display. But I'm interested to hear from you. There was a future peek into how consumers are going to be interacting with brands through technology in the future and today. So which trends do you feel, what did you notice from CES, have the potential to really change the face of out-of-home advertising this year and beyond?
Yeah, well, I think CES is always a bit of a mad show, isn't it? Full of weird and wacky things. I think for me, you kind of got to go back actually and think about the evolution of CES from sort of like even like 2014 all rolling up into now. And one thing which is undeniable, and we're seeing more and more of it, is about collaboration between different technology providers, platforms, and suppliers. And it's kind of that view which is a lot of people realise you can't go it on your own. In order to collaborate and actually create something tangible, which we as either consumers or we as businesses can begin to actually get our heads around and understand, it's taking the skill sets of different people to go and make that happen. I mean, you know, you look at autonomous cars in particular. I mean, what's really interesting is we all consider that Google will do it on their own. And what they're seeing already, that actually integrating and using the likes of GM and Volvo to actually go and make that happen is going to be essential as you bring sort of the two worlds aligned. I think for us, from an out-of-home point of view, what's really fascinating is about the advances in the physical smart city world. We're already seeing some really incredible projects that are happening across EMEA and across APAC in particular. And obviously, I think one of those aspects that we're seeing right now in New York is the Link project as well, which is coming into the UK as well, which is the adoption of how smart technology in a physical world can actually completely change sort of consumer habit of what we have, what we do, and what we see. And I think we'll just see more and more of that, and we'll see real tangible evidence of what we can actually do, rather than just these sort of weird, wonderful, and wacky ideas. So yeah, more and more collaboration would be good.
Excellent. For those of you who just joined us, we're here with Nick Halas, Head of Futures at Posterscope, and we're discussing the key out-of-home advertising trends to look out for this year and beyond. Do check out Posterscope's latest predictions report. There's a link to that in our latest Facebook post across our social channels. And if you do have any questions for Nick, send them through in the comments below and we'll do our best to answer them for you. So I'm keen to kind of talk about open data. You know, as more data streams become available through the Internet of Things, through linked ad exchanges, what do you think is the biggest opportunity that data will bring to out-of-home in 2017, and how will that benefit brands?
I mean, for us, it's an evolutionary change in what we're already doing, which is, I mean, if you go back and kind of look at us over the last couple of years and where we started from, which is a lot of out-of-home planning or physical planning was all based on the core demographic, right? The very traditional female 25, 54-year-old shopper that we want. And the sort of the birth of micro-location data via mobile ad exchanges or through partnerships like we have with EE at the moment means we're actually able to understand significantly more about the physical audience, who they are, what they're doing, and where they are. And what that allows us to do is begin to tap into essentially a lot of like the online kind of aspects, which is understanding behaviour like that. But behaviour overlaid with location is a much more powerful asset for us. So rather than trying to just go after for, let's say, film clients, a traditional audience of demographics they give to us, we can now plan against cinema goers. We can see if they've been there. We can see where they've come from, where they associate over periods of different time. That completely changes the way that we can consider about targeting and output for our clients and approaches. And we're going to see more and more of that in 2017, some of the different data partnerships that we already subscribe or work into, and even more that we will collaborate with some of the other OpCo brands across Dan, meaning that the physical world will begin to learn and learn more about it. And it means that our world is just completely changing. We are completely evolving. And that's really exciting for us. It's a real challenge, but it's really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. For those of you who joined us, we're talking about out-of-home advertising trends to look out for this year with Nick Halas, Head of Futures at Posterscope. Do send through your questions or comments below. Marketers use data across various channels, not just out of home. So how should they use data through the planning of other channels to improve their wider comms plan?
I mean, I'm going to be biased by the nature of where I work and what I do, but for us, I mean, the common currency of what we look at is location, right? And it's something that we all consumed into. You are as soon as you woke up today, where you're going, what you're doing, how you interact with different journey plans. And we're seeing that across not just our own landscape, but we're seeing it across multiple different landscapes at the moment, which is being able to understand audiences in their local environments, to understand actually what is the role of communications going to be in that area. The consumer, for example, in Yeovil is completely different, possibly, than the consumer in Canterbury. So why should I have the same sort of overarching message to both of them? It should be a little bit more personalised in that aspect. And I mean, we're seeing that even in more media channels at the moment. I mean, Sky Ad Smart, I mean, it's a fantastic demonstration of that. You know, you look at some of their case studies that Amplify managed to put together over the course of the year. I'm thinking about actually for, you know, car dealerships, trying to do local offers to people in Portsmouth. That can be a very local, specific message. But location was the key that sat behind all of that. So while I obviously can be biased from an out-of-home point of view, I think every single channel is seeing location as a currency that we can learn more about. For sure.
So in terms of you know, blending the real and the virtual, then you know, AR basically. We had another Q&A with Cara and iProspect earlier this month, and we were talking about, you know, that as a trend both at CES and going forward, and mass consumption, etc. So do you see any interesting projects from an AR perspective when it comes to out-of-home advertising this year?
Yeah, I mean, AR is definitely one of those areas we're in massive growth, right, that we're looking at. I think if you kind of split AR out and just kind of, you know, even consider something like Pokemon Go, I was talked about it to the death, the mass of it, but it was an incredibly great first step of being able to integrate a physical world that we just connect and consume almost latently in our own lives every single day, and then an injection of technology to turn that same physical landscape that we see every single day into something that was incredibly different, very unique, a very different experience from the normal humdrum of my same walk that I would take. And I mean, we're seeing more and more of that when we're looking at trying to build experiences for consumers. I mean, we work obviously very deeply with MKTG in this building in terms of looking at consumer experiences and event experiences. And some work that we even put on for Norwegian Airnet only a couple of weeks ago, where we completed a sort of completely new 5-dimensional experience for them, all through VR as well at that point. It means that we can put consumers in a completely different environment from anything they've ever experienced. And while at the moment, I mean, the acceptance costs and the uptake from marketeers is still in its infant stages, I think some of the different case studies that we're always seeing demonstrating the power of being able to do that. And I think there's a lot more for us to learn. I think, you know, the same case studies that we're seeing now will still be the same ones that we're talking about even in 6-12 months' time, but it's up to us to try and evolve that. I think it's quite exciting to think about.
Yeah, brilliant. And you know, how do you see VR, AR, even voice AI? How do you see that evolving in the future on a more, you know, in a wider basis?
Well, I mean, it's kind of getting to quite scary kind of limits. I mean, if you look at, I think some of the best I ever saw was like the Sony ear product. I'm not sure you've ever seen that at the moment, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's a blend of everything, right? That is using AI intelligence based on where I go. It's absorbing all of my content information, data feeds that I subscribe to on a physical level, and then being able to make personal decisions for me off the back of that, or navigating into different locations that I want. And I mean, you know, the blend that we're all seeing is it's that sort of lens of, it's maybe a bit creepy, but it's got to be about making something better for the citizen at the end of the day. I mean, we see that a lot of how we look at smart cities as well, of being able to try and change that opportunity that it makes life better for me in some way, shape or form. It's got to give me a benefit. Because if it doesn't give me a benefit, why should I do it? And I mean, you know, for every sole great benefit that we see, we'll probably see 10 fads, which were interesting for about 5 minutes, but they won't last the test of time. But it's kind of, it's that clouded sort of space that I think even we as agencies, as the guardians for our brands in that space, we're constantly striving for what's that next answer to it, how do we integrate with it? And I'm not sure it's tangible at the moment. I don't think we kind of know what that answer is right now. Much like we were talking about CES earlier in terms of the collaboration with those different tech platforms, well, that's what we've got to embrace as well, is to work out how do we put the technology, the consumer idea and the brand idea in the same space together to create something that's sort of harmonious and great. But so it's not quite there yet. It's some of the challenge.
Well, I know that at CES there was a lot of tech on display, and if anyone's interested in learning more around what our predictions are as a wider group when it comes to key technologies off the back of CES, then do check out the Dentsu Tech Matrix, which is currently on our SlideShare account. It's also being shared across our social channels, so do check that out. It's really interesting takes on key technology like VR, AR, AI. So when it comes to contextual content, in your predictions you mentioned that 2016 was the year that consumers moved away from being identified by traditional demographics. Can you give me some examples of more sophisticated targeting that brands should really be looking at when it comes to out of home?
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of examples, I suppose, that we use right now, and every single day planning, the guys out there are probably doing it right now. One is our partnership with the EU. That we've got there, which is, from our own point, is just using essentially first-party telco data to create really interesting taxonomies of different apps. So I think I kind of mentioned earlier, which is, you know, if we're trying to target a cinema film goer, well, what we can actually do via EE is create a taxonomy of different film apps, pick a location, and then look across the whole of their database. So, you know, you're talking plus 50 million connected devices in the UK. So sample size is phenomenal to start off with. To then understand with those consumers that have got those different apps or end sites that they're looking for, where we typically see them. And we can do hotspot analysis on that using our mapping visualization tools here to then allow us to overlay poster sites essentially onto it. For us to then consider actually, rather than just target me just by the cinema, target me in the rural area where I know that I've got a big dwell of cinema film lovers in that aspect. And for us, it's completely changing our landscape of how we look at it compared to sort of the traditional methods. And another example of that is we work with quite an interesting startup company called Locomizer that taken a load of mobile ad exchange information to do the same kind of aspect, which is looking at online behaviours, but also taking social data from Twitter, so we can begin to understand social sentiment based on geographic locations. So we can understand if at any one point a certain area of the world, or certainly the UK landscape that we look at right now, is associating positive or negative sentiment, and then to consider actually being more reactive for our brands of, here's an opportunity for you now to go and either acquire customers or retain customers based on what they're either disgruntled or really positive about at that point. And again, that's completely changing the world of out of home. It turns it from, I think, something which is perhaps being perceived as a one-dimensional before, to something which is actually really more faceted. So yeah.
Definitely. And what range of non-traditional out-of-home data are you now using to measure, you know, more immediate consumer behaviour, such as, you know, sentiment, for example?
So what data we're actually ingesting to go and do that? Well, obviously social data is the biggest one, right? So I mean, Twitter that we see onto it. I think what's been really interesting actually is about collaborating with some of the brands. So for example, across MKTG, when we're doing live experiences as well, what we're actually being able to do is understand social data at the same point in terms of who's coming into that area, understand the sentiment of people in that environment, to then think about retargeting straight after it, which is quite interesting. Another burning balance is we've started using iBeacons to do live footfall tracking in certain areas as well. I think one case study which we certainly put across the network that people have seen is the stuff that we did for PIMS last year, where we put iBeacons into certain pubs, and then using dynamic sites in proximity to those pubs, we were able to tell and change the canvas of the outbound site of how full the bar was and whether there were seats at the bar in order for people to go and enjoy last PIMS. So again, it's using sort of very different data feeds to then reactively change the output of this really large, incredible canvas on their site. So yeah.
Brilliant. If anyone does have any questions or comments for Nick Halas, then do send them through in the comments below. We're starting to get a few comments through, I believe. So when it comes to advertising for good, you guys did a very powerful campaign for Zika in Brazil. Can you tell me a little bit more about that campaign and you know how you came about that campaign?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stems from actually, in Brazil, we essentially controlled all the Olympic activity that went through for anyone in the industry as part of our network. So we were kind of asked by the Brazilian government at that point, given Zika was such a big issue across the Olympics as well, to kind of work hand in hand with them to ideate and create a campaign for Zika. So the interactive site that they use, which informed you about Zika, is kind of what we came up with. And you know, the responses off the back of it, I just think were great in terms of us learning more about not only just the creative delivery that we know that we've always been able to deliver to on out of home, but the social power that sits behind all of that. You know, I think a lot of people kind of maybe sometimes perceive, which is out of home is another way of building an awareness block on top of a lot of other activity. I mean, this was a really good demonstration, which was out of home was the creative delivery of that platform, and all of the social buzz that created off the back of that and viral activity was because of something which was just incredible in the physical landscape. And I mean, for us, certainly for me, I mean, that was key, because it allowed us to completely change the rules and the perceptions of what out of home can do in its head.
Yeah, and do you see, I guess, a trend in more branded social causes, I suppose, going forward? And you know, what's the biggest opportunity for brands in that space?
Well, we're seeing a lot more advertising for good. I mean, for anyone that deals with Posterscope and certainly MKTG as well on a level, you know, we're deeply ingrained in something that we call urban partnerships, where we are taking kind of either disused land or regeneration projects to then kind of consider actually how can a brand create a relationship with that environment to go and do something better for that local community. You know, I mean, the campaign that MKTG actually put forward for Adidas last year down in Brixton, based Brixton, an environment which was kind of a big pillar to the community. It was being completely bulldozed and wrecked, and we ended up creating this incredible local community football installation, which, you know, saw the likes of global Adidas superstars going down to go and play in. It was just another good demonstration of brands can do that, and they want that relationship. But there's obviously something tangible back, as we said earlier, for the citizen from that. And we're just seeing that appetite continue more and more in terms of how we evolve. And I think that's a great blend and balance for us. Everyone wants the physical world that they live in to be better, to be enriched, because it's something we can feel and we can touch.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I mean, we're always up to try and push that as hard as we can.
Yeah, it's an exciting area. And you know, what type of advertising for good and smart city opportunities do you think Posterscope will be involved with, you know, this year or beyond?
Well, rather than kind of give some sort of, you know, spurious answer of, oh, watch this space and we'll do loads of, we're doing stuff now, and we have been over the last 6 months. I mean, one of those is we're actively involved with a venture capital firm to do something around that's called Smart Bench. So this is putting in brand new benches into London boroughs at the moment, which is rather than just a bench that you can sit on, it still does that. But it offers free Wi-Fi. It's also powered, it offers USB charging connect ports, but it also offers really smart sensors to inform you about air pollution, noise pollution at that time. So again, the whole thought of all of that is, which is in a smart connected world, an environment which is, you're there to sit, dwell, relax, do whatever, but to know that you can be completely connected into that space, to know that a brand as well, which is what we're trying to talk about, can connect in that environment and give you something that you weren't expecting is just fantastic for us. You know, we did something earlier in the year as well for a client called Braintree, which was around some smart bikes, which were over in the East End of London, which was to connect kind of startup businesses, very much sort of like the Santander bike scheme that you see right now. But again, they offered kind of free Wi-Fi into that area and being connected to help businesses move on the go. So we're kind of embracing that right now, and you know, either across the network in Japan, for example, where we own some physical infrastructure, we're actually trying to completely rejuvenate that whole space with Google at the moment, to complete a complete new smart city bus network in Tokyo.
Wow.
So you know, we are kind of head first into this already. There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot for us to learn, but we're doing that by getting our hands dirty.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very exciting.
Brilliant, brilliant. Just a reminder, if you do have any questions, then send them through in the comments below. I believe we have a question through. What trends do you see crossing over to B2B when it comes to out of home?
I mean, a lot of this is actually, certainly when you think about the digital out of home space, it allows us to be very fluid in being able to deliver to reactive client needs and requirements. And what we are seeing there more and more actually is, in terms of that local common currency that I spoke about earlier, of local businesses being able to use out of home for their own power in order to talk to consumers or to talk to other businesses in that environment. And digital out of home is being able to offer that as an opportunity, because you can buy in really short areas, and I'm sure we'll kind of embrace that topic of programmatic at some point as well.
Yep.
That's allowing us to be more accessible, and therefore that is allowing businesses to integrate and talk to other businesses to promote services. So the fact that we are being able to open up this kind of network and canvas and be more accessible means that we are, by virtue of that, opening up more opportunities.
Brilliant. Thank you for that question. Any more, do send them through. So, talking of programmatic, so it's a fast-growing area for the industry, for the wider industry, but what is Posterscope doing in regards to programmatic from an out-of-home perspective?
I mean, I think one of our first jobs is to educate anyone that we work with around what programmatic means in out-of-home, because it's not just quite simple as throwing a magic wand and saying, "Allow you're programmatic." As everyone knows, there's a lot that goes into either the plumbing and technical ability, and then even the output that we see on a day-to-day level now online is completely different in every single media channel. Everyone has their nuance, and I mean, our first kind of job on that is to inform people that there's a lot of buzz and rhetoric and hype about programmatic out of home. You know, if you Google it, everyone's doing it, right? And there is a little bit of a truth that kind of is built on here, which is not quite to the same degree and level as what you're seeing now as an off-the-shelf product in online. And I think our job is to break that down into some of its aspects and consider actually about how new plumbing is automating and making a lot of our business more efficient in order for us to deliver more responses to briefs, more ideas, think about things differently. I think from our side, Posterscope, we're trying to lead that in a really pragmatic way back to our clients, so they don't be misinformed of what it is. I think, you know, we're in a big area of development in that side. If we break it into its kind of maybe three component parts of that, the first aspect is understanding what inventory is out there. You know, the normal world is you've got to go and ask a media owner for that. We now have live availability feeds with all the major media owners out there. So our internal end-to-end system, ECOS, can actually go and find it out in seconds. If you think about an end state, which is then about being able to deliver into digital out of home via essentially an ad serving rule and mechanism, we already have that. We purchased a fully acquired of Live Poster, which is a dynamic platform that we were using for a long period of time. which is actually, when you consider that, already delivering to that programmatic lens. I am being able to be very subjective about what content I want into a certain different area based on a whole bunch of different numerous rules. Exactly all the same rules that I can deliver in online. So from that lens, we're still there. The bit in the middle, which is about booking, is the one piece that is going to take the longest to work out.
Yeah.
And that's because out-of-home media owners just aren't there. They're not predicated on digital infrastructure. So there's a lot of planning for us to sort out there in order to get that right. So it's coming. We're already doing some certain worlds into that. But I mean, one of the biggest things is to kind of constantly educate all our partners out there, because otherwise we end up getting mistruths which at the end of the day only affect our clients, because they're not getting the same thing that maybe they're perceived to be getting.
And speaking of live poster, it's a really exciting acquisition, I think, for Posterscope. Could you give us an example of any exciting projects that you've carried out with
I mean, we haven't got enough time to talk about all of them.
Just one.
But there's enormous ones. I mean, I think for us last year was a big turning point of live poster. We challenged them, us, and clients to think about things completely different. That had never been considered. I mean, the best one for it would be Microsoft Cortana. For their, we delivered over 10,000 pieces of unique content in numerous different physical landscapes over sort of a 4-week period. And that's thinking about exactly the same rule mechanism that you can do in online display. And we were just taking exactly all those same rules and delivering it, and delivering, physical bits of content which were related to people that were in Bristol meets, talking about what could they do in the next 2 minutes before the 3:38 train to Hounslow goes. It completely changed the way that we can creatively think about the landscape. Which is fantastic for us. We're challenging creative agencies more than they've ever been challenged before in that landscape. So it's a massive breath of fresh air for the whole of the industry to consider that, and that's why we get so excited about it. It changes everything that we do. So yeah,
brilliant. We have another question through. What advice do you have for marketers targeting millennials? That keyword.
Be polite. I mean, from our point of view, we've always got to think about it, which is about being relevant to them. And much like when we're talking there about live poster, which is a platform in itself that allows us to go and do that, is to think that the message to millennials has got to be relevant and personal to where they are and what they're doing, and embrace the physical environment or the interests that they're consuming at that time. And I mean, again, what we're trying to do, I suppose, from an out-of-home point of view, means that we can actually do that. I mean, previously it was always like, try and think of a really idealistic bit of copy and then chuck it up and just kind of hope that it works and blends. Whereas now for marketers, it's about, certainly from our channel and our medium, it's thinking actually we've got all this incredible data which informs us about where millennials are and what they're doing, their interests on a moving scale. So let's use that to then consider about what communications have actually got to go and do. Because without that, we're not relevant, and if we're not relevant, then we're not going to work. We're not going to create that connection with a millennial or anyone at that point.
Yeah, and in terms of the evolution of out-of-home, it's at a point of great evolution, I think, when it comes to how it's planned, how it's bought, how it's built basically to interact with people. What are the key drivers, do you think, for the evolution of out-of-home this year?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's just kind of building on what we're already doing, right? There's an aspect which is our collaboration with media owners is absolutely key, right? They push us as much as we push them. Our relationship with them is much as we are a business partner to them, because we naturally want them to do things bigger and better, because it helps us grow the medium, which is what we are. We are, as biased as it can say, we want to give out-of-home the biggest opportunity it can. So connecting with them, and I think some of the projects that you're going to see later on down the line, like the Link project with BT and Prime Site this year, is a massive game changer in terms of thinking about that. I mean, the other side for us is to constantly challenge our agency partners and anyone that we deal with, because if we're not doing that, we're not doing our job correctly in terms of thinking about what new solutions are out there. I think it's sometimes, we're all guilty of it, which is if you're not the most fashionable in the zoo at that point, sometimes you can kind of not be thought about or considered for a creative idea or opportunity. And that's our job, is to constantly move that and make sure that we're doing that with our partners. So yeah, I think more collaboration is going to be essential, really.
Brilliant. We've got time for one more question. So we've got one through here. It's a long one.
Oh wow.
It's a couple actually. So what is Out of Home's role in consolidating customer view across channels? So what's its role, I guess, in the wider comms channel mix?
Well, I mean, Out of Home, let's go back to some of the principles of what Out of Home was always great at, right? Which was, it's still, second to none, second only probably to TV, if you look at some research studies, of delivering brand awareness, right? Of getting a message and a communication out there. I think its role is evolving though, which is, we've never really been considered, let's say, as an action-based mechanic. You can't click on this and go to somewhere. But our conjunction with either other media channels, which I mean primarily if you consider about mobile, the relationship that we have there in being able to use the Out of Home based on predicated different rules of that we've already spoken about in dynamic, means that I can be more action orientated to a consumer right there at that moment. The connection is easier, it's transferable. And to consider when you're then layering over media channels, certainly with mobile as well, is consider that media multiplier effect in a physical landscape. Means that actually we're getting and driving better results for campaigns. We've already done that. And some of the collaborations that we've had with across the different group clients and also with Fetch has demonstrated that that power and that combination of those two channels means actually our role is, rather than just being this sort of silo which was, well, that can deliver some awareness, is actually we can now start delivering some action based on sort of just different locations in that area. So yeah, we're already driving some of that at the moment.
Brilliant. Another question here, what are the links this channel can provide to creating that single view of the customer, and what are some of the obstacles that need to be circumvented?
Well, I mean, rather than kind of think about the channel, I'd probably rather think about the medium and the space of the physical world, right? Which is, what can we do in that? And I think our role in there is evolving. Where previously I think we may have just been seen as we can provide a solution in terms of what outdoor poster sites you need or require, and some creative nuances onto that. Increasingly what we're seeing more and more from our customers and our brands and our relationships with everyone is understanding more about that physical world. The balance of, we look at so many different data sets to understand who people are. We get into a world where we can provide very rich location analytics, map and visualize that as well to understand where those people are. And what that is doing is actually providing much richer business intelligence back to clients about customers, either in line with their retail stores or their physical exposure in the world already, or based on target audiences that are looking to try and capture. So our role in that landscape is completely changing. We're becoming an information requirement back to comms planners, strategists, etc., and to businesses themselves, to even understand what the role of communication should be, or is there something that their business could be doing differently to go and interact or change that. So I think that's how we're evolving in that need state. Let's say it's less about just kind of the output of the poster, but more of actually understanding the landscape that's around it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for everyone's questions we've had in today. I'm going to wrap up with one final question for you. What are the 3 key trends that people should be looking out for this year when it comes to out of home?
I mean, certainly, number one is constantly thinking about dynamic, right? It's a need state which is completely changing the way that we consider about the out-of-home canvas, from its creative capability to its understanding of different audiences in there. 2 is kind of just is programmatic but it's kind of automation, not really pragmatic to that lens. It's kind of thinking about that. And then thirdly is just what I kind of touched upon really, which is actually thinking about the much wider location data analytics that we can provide and think about. Because I mean, that's something which changes our landscape even further, because it will change the way you can even think about what you should do in out of home before you get to that point of, here's the brief for out of home.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
joining us.
Nick. It's been brilliant, and I'm sure I've learned a lot. I'm sure everyone else has as well. So thank you for joining us, and thank you to everyone who sent through your questions. Do tune in again. We'll be holding another live Q&A soon with another one of the Dentsu brand. So do stay tuned, and thank you for joining us.